one free agency prediction for every NFL team. Welcome, football fans, to another BLV NFL free agency video. In this video, I'm reacting to an ESPN article projecting one free agent for each NFL team. One fit for each of the NFL teams. All 32. If that sounds good, spike the like button. Let me know in the comments what you think of these potential landing spots for the top free agents. And let me know in the comments, do you want me to make this video? Do you want me to predict and project one free agent for all 32 NFL teams? Let's say if we get 75 likes on this video, I will make my very own all 32 teams, one free agent. Let's do it. Spike the like button. And let's have some fun. Let's react to some ESPN football content, shall we? Okay, so we have here from Aaron projecting one signing for every team. So this is a projection. This is not what he would do, but a projection. This was also posted a couple days ago in late February. NFL free agency is right around the corner, which means teams are already thinking about players they want to add to their rosters. The franchise tag deadline is March 4th, which is coming up. And the free agency chaos will begin on March 10th, guys. Which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, you're a jabroni, because nobody covers free agency better than me. Okay? I can say that with honesty. So, which unrestricted free agents are the best match for each 32 teams? I think we understand the premise. Let's get to the signings. What does he say here? To explain moves for several teams, I used my DVOA, defense adjusted value over average metric, which takes every play during the season and compares it to a baseline adjusted for situation and opponent. So he uses DVOA for the signings. Let's get started with the Bills. Okay. So the Buffalo Bills would sign Hollywood Brown. And I'm just going to give you my raw thoughts on each move. I don't like this. I don't love Hollywood Brown as a player, first of all. I don't mind how he would be able to add a perimeter vertical threat, although he's better in the slot, in my opinion, especially when it comes to working down the field. I thought he looked okay as a Chief. Maybe was never the right fit for that offense, where they kind of ended up going with the Kansas City Chief offense this past year, where a lot of it was behind the line of scrimmage, very short passes, which is not Hollywood Brown's game. You know, he's always been a vertical player. I understand the premise here, where you want to add a talent to the wide receiver position with a little bit of speed and a little bit of vertical dimension for Josh Allen to play with. I get that, but at the same time, I don't like Hollywood Brown in a cold weather environment in big games. I feel drops are incoming. And I personally just feel like he is not a tough enough player. Like, I would not want him on my team if I was a Buffalo Bill fan. I would rather other players, personally. But that's just me, okay? Maybe you like that signing. I understand what he means here. I personally think there are other receivers the Bills can attack if they want to attack receiver at all. Maybe they look at the draft. Miami, Tevin Jenkins. Okay, I like this one. Practically every guard on Miami's roster is a free agent. He's right about that. Robert Jones, Isaiah Wynn, and Liam Eichenberg. So why not upgrade the position with a bright young talent like Jenkins? Interesting thing is, Tevin Jenkins has been arguably the Bears' best offensive lineman over the last couple of seasons. And the Bears fandom want to upgrade that offensive line for Caleb Williams. And they might actually be losing their best offensive lineman this offseason. Just keep that in mind. He says, this is more of a bet on potential than production. Jenkins had an average pass block win rate of 92% and a slightly below average run block win rate of 69.3 this past season. But the soon-to-be 27-year-old has the talent to move men off the ball in the running game. Yeah, I do think the Dolphins could use a little bit more physicality, use a little bit more athleticism at that guard position. And I do like taking a risk on a talent like Tevin Jenkins. That being said, I honestly don't know if he would be the best fit for a Miami zone-based scheme. I feel like maybe more power running games would be more of his suitable style. But I like the position need, and I understand this one. The New England Patriots, Ronnie Stanley. Okay, that one's obvious. Every Patriots beat reporter, every Patriot fan is hoping this happens. This is like their number one target because the Patriots have the worst tackle position in the entire NFL, and it's not really that close. I've actually looked into it. Like, it's not that close on paper. The Patriots pretty much need everything except a quarterback. Okay, that's a little bit much, but bro, come on. Cut us a break, bro. But the offensive line issues stood out this past season. That is true. They finished dead last in run block win rate, and only the Bengals finished worst in pass block win rate. 67% in run block win rate, 50% in pass block. That's disgusting. New England will need to improve the offensive line with both free agent signings and draft picks, and Stanley would be the first move. Yeah, he's a good player. He's probably a top 10 tackle in the NFL. As he says here, he had a down 2023, but rebounded in 2024, ranking 12th in pass block win rate. He'd be a very secure left tackle. If Baltimore allows him to hit the open market, it's likely that a team is going to throw up too much money for him to pass up. And I do believe that could be the Patriots. Plus, I think he'd be a great fit for the Patriots running game as well, given that he played for Baltimore for so many seasons. The New York Jets, Sam Darnold. Okay, I'm going to say this. Yes, I understand they need a quarterback, but you can't bring Sam Darnold back, can you? You guys, let me know what you think. You can't bring Sam Darnold back after he pretty much has solidified himself as a New York Jet bust. You're telling me that after you let him go, after you decided and determined that he was no longer going to have franchise potential, going to be a franchise quarterback, you let him walk. That a few years later, you let him mature and get better coaching, and you pay him money like he's going to be a franchise quarterback? I know it's a different regime, but bro, that just doesn't make sense. I just can't wrap my head around it because of the contract you have to pay the man to make it happen. I just can't see it happening, bro. I'm sorry. I just don't understand that one. Byron Murphy to the Ravens. I like this pick. I actually was thinking about this as a prediction myself, so whenever that does happen, I will agree with you. What I like about Murphy's game when it comes to the Ravens, I think he's a very savvy. What's a sarvy? I don't know what that is, but a savvy coverage defender in terms of zone coverage. And he also has inside-outside versatility, which can match Marlon Humphrey. So playing matchup games with Marlon Humphrey would also be useful. And he can play the perimeter. He's a solid tackler, very high IQ player. And the Ravens love to mix their zone coverages, play a lot of too high. I think Murphy does struggle a little bit more in man and a little bit more on the island. But if you can hide, those one-on-one deficiencies a little bit, I feel like he is a ball hawk of a player. Murphy ranked 5th in coverage DVOA among qualified corners, had 6 picks and 14 passes defended last year. Minnesota played 69% zone coverage, right? That's the 4th highest mark, although Murphy also excelled in man coverage according to this article. I feel like, maybe he had his best season last year in man coverage, but I feel like traditionally he's been a better zone player. Kevin Zeitler to the Bengals. I like this one. I think the Bengals should be attacking their offensive line and upgrading that area. As we've already determined, they were one of the worst pass blocking teams in football last year, despite their offensive success, which speaks to Joe Burrow, which speaks to their great receiver talent to separate early in the routes and, be great in terms of their timing. But yeah, their guard position, borderline pathetic. Alex Kappa has regressed mightily. Volson has never been the dude. Their center, Ted Karras, is good, but Zeitler could certainly fill a huge need, return to the Bengals, finish his career with the Bengals, and help protect Joe Burrow. That does make a lot of sense. Justin Fields to the Cleveland Browns. That's an interesting one. If I were the Browns, I would rather just run it back with Jameis Winston. I personally think Jameis is actually a better player than Justin Fields, not just because I like him more, but I actually think he is a better player. I would also say that he's probably a better fit for what Stefanski is doing, unless he totally changes his offense. Because remember, one of the awkward parts about this Deshaun Watson experience has been the lack of utilization of Deshaun Watson, the athlete, right? Like, Stefanski has really struggled. He's had to bring in outside sources and outside people to figure out how to utilize Deshaun Watson running the ball, right? And the natural fit for Stefanski is not an athlete at quarterback. It's a accurate passer who has a hint of mobility that can operate in play action rollout scenarios and getting outside the pocket, but not exactly being a guy that is like a runner, if that makes sense. I think he does benefit from a bit of movement, but to me, like, he's had his best offenses with guys like Kirk Cousins and, you know, guys like Baker Mayfield. Like, he's not needed a great athlete. He needs a guy that can be on time, that's accurate, that can throw a touch ball and, you know, get the ball to where it needs to go at the right time. I don't necessarily feel like this is the right fit here. I think Fields will go to somewhere that is more conditioned for an athletic quarterback. DJ Reed to the Steelers. Yes, they need a corner. DJ Reed has never played in a system like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does play a lot more man than usual. Let's see what he has to say here, because I'm kind of intrigued. The Steelers seem to be a great match. They have a glaring need with Dante Jackson likely hitting free agency. They should bring him back, I think. They're in the top 10 in teams in free agent salary cap. Pittsburgh also used the 12th most zone and 21st in using man. That's interesting that they're only 21st. It felt like they were way higher than that, which could benefit the versatile Reed. I guess that's true. He had an off season in 2024, according to my coverage DVOA metric, but he was an above average player in 2023 and one of the best corners in the league in terms of yards per target in 2022. Yeah, I respect that the Steelers have a need at corner. I don't know if DJ Reed is their cup of tea. He's a little too small, in my opinion. I don't really recall that many corners playing for the Steelers that were small. But again, I think the need is correct. So I can't really hate on that too much. Houston Texans, Drew Dahlman. I like this one. I think he's a good fit for this system. The Texans' interior offensive line completely imploded. Yeah, this is their biggest need by far. Center, guard. That's their biggest need, right? Juice Scruggs was near the bottom of the league with his pass block win rate. Dahlman is really underrated, by the way. Would stabilize the middle of the line and turns 27. He started only 9 games this past season because of an ankle injury, but had 95% pass block win rate in 2023, 94%, which was 10th among centers. He also fits Houston's run game and uses, you know, he's really good in inside-outside zone. He's good in the zone system, which I think is exactly what the Texans have done last year and I think will carry over into this season. So I think Drew Dahlman will be a great fit for a team like the Texans. Jacksonville is up, or no, not Jacksonville. I missed the Colts. Mekhi Becton, interesting. Yes and no. Like, I understand that one of their guards is a free agent, but I don't think their money needs to be spent on the offensive line as much as it needs to be spent at rather quarterback, at tight end potentially, defense. Like, safety is maybe an issue in free agency, linebacker, maybe corner, right? Like, I wouldn't choose guard as the position that I would be spending on if I were the Colts, but I like Becton a lot. I think he's got high-end potential. He is a monster in space. And obviously, you know, Shane Steichen, there's a bit of crossover there between Philadelphia and Shane Steichen still. So that fit does sort of make some sense. Mike Hilton is next up. Hilton is a good nickel corner. Jacksonville obviously does need some secondary help. Although Hilton is not the best cover guy, but he would help in a majority of different categories, whether it be tackling, overall coverage intelligence, integrity, and blitzing. He's a pretty good blitzer too. Hilton would be a useful playmaker to move around in the new defense. 17 of his 35 tackles after a pass reception stopped the receiver short of a successful gain. So yeah, very efficient tackler, very good in space. I can't hate on that one. I mean, Jacksonville definitely needs some corner help or some secondary help. Tennessee, Milton Williams. Interesting. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Jeff Simmons and Devondre Sweat, but that is not the biggest need for Tennessee. Tennessee needs a wide receiver. Tennessee needs a quarterback that they could spend money on. Tennessee needs right tackle, right guard. Tennessee needs linebacker. Tennessee needs safety. Tennessee needs a lot of things before they need a defensive lineman. Love Milton Williams. Think he would be a great pickup for basically anybody in the NFL. But with Devondre Sweat, who really thrived as a rookie last year, and Jeff Simmons, one of the best D tackles in the NFL, don't see that as a move that they need to make. Denver Broncos, Aaron Jones. I brought this up as a potential landing spot. I don't mind it because Sean Payton is a very heavy user of not zone, but heavy user of screens, where Aaron Jones is really good in the screen game. Aaron Jones is also a very talented receiver, and Sean Payton can use those guys that are very effective in space and have those electric playmaking abilities like Aaron Jones, right? And think Alvin Kamara, think Reggie Bush, that type of player. And I do think having, multiple other running backs that he can rely on in the backfield, Jones would not be a guy that needs to carry the ball 15 to 20 times to be successful. He would be a back in a line of other running backs, right? A committee. They were also first in run block win rate. Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Jones had 1,138 yards and 4.5 yards per carry. Broncos finished 5th in targets to running backs. There you go. Aaron Jones useful in that regard. Yet only ranked 26 out of 32 teams in receiving DVOA by running backs. So that could be an upgrade for them for sure. Kansas City, Stephon Diggs. That would be kind of ironic and funny. I don't mind it. I feel like, yeah, you've got Worthy. You've got Rashee Rice returning. Travis Kelce. Does Diggs slot in as their third receiver, their slot receiver? Does he help them, transition with Rashee Rice coming back from injury? He's coming back from injury. I would be intrigued to see how they would use him. Inside, outside, the yak ability. Is it still there? He was on pace for another 1,000-yard season. He could play on the outside, is what he's saying. Opposite Worthy after Rice returns to the slot. See, I don't see Diggs as a outside player anymore. I feel like he's a better slot player at this point in his career, given that's where he played in Houston. But I could be wrong. Javon Holland to the Raiders. Yeah, I love this one. This makes perfect sense. Both of their safeties are free agents, as he points out, Morig and Epps. Both could use a little bit of an upgrade, too. Holland is the best safety available. Pete Carroll is a big safety fiend. And, I love that Raider defense being a sort of a variation of the Patriot defense. And Holland kind of resembling Devin McCourty, in my opinion. Versatility, great in coverage, great tackler, very fast, a lot of range. Holland had only 62 tackles in 2024, but 74 in just 12 games in 2023 and 96 in 2022. He's going to be 25 next year, only 25, but he could easily backstop the Raiders' pass defense for a few seasons. They definitely need to spend some money on the back end of their defense. They certainly could get a bit faster in that regard as well. So yeah, I agree. That's a good pickup. Chargers, DeAndre Hopkins. I wouldn't hate on it. I think D-Hop can play inside or outside. You would hope that he could play more outside with Ladd McConkey playing inside. He's a different type of target than what they have, right? He's more of a physical jump ball winner, chain mover, good against zone, savvy, that type of guy. Short area route runner, not going to be a vertical threat, not going to have that dimension. But with McConkey, and then Quentin Johnston, you've got that vertical big threat on the outside. I could see how that would fit. I mean, that wouldn't be like my ideal for them, but I feel like that wouldn't be a bad choice. Nick Bolton to the Cowboys. I've thought of this one myself, so this is a good pickup. I'm intrigued to hear why. I think it's because The Cowboys brought in Matt Eberflus, right? So he likes linebackers. Let's see what they have to say here. Soon to be free agent Eric Kendricks is 33. So Dallas could use a significant younger upgrade in the middle. They definitely have needed a linebacker for multiple years. They need a true 4-3 middle linebacker who can lead on and off the field. There's no better candidate than the two-time Super Bowl champ Nick Bolton. I don't need to recite stats here, although Bolton led the Chiefs by being involved in 13.3 of defensive plays. Simply listen to what Chiefs defensive coordinator Spagnuolo has said about Bolton. He told Sports Illustrated that Bolton was one of the most cerebral players he has coached and referred to him as the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. So yes, that's certainly a leader, a communicator, a player, a winner that the Cowboys could use in their locker room. The New York Giants, Russell Wilson. This makes sense. The Giants do need at the very least, a veteran bridge quarterback, but at the most, a starter for this year. Russell Wilson does want to play in New York, as I've discussed already. And let's see what he has to say, because I'm intrigued what he thinks about Daboll and Russ in particular. In the Cleveland section, I noted that both Browns and Giants have similar quarterback situations. While Justin Fields makes more sense for the Browns, I don't think so. Wilson is a better fit for the Giants, given that their coach and front office likely can't have another 3-14 season and keep their jobs. But would Russ really change that? That's my question. Wilson, who had 2,482 passing yards in 11 starts, can still play at a reasonable level. I guess he's saying that if you have Russ as your quarterback, you're winning like 6 games, right? You're not going to be great, you're not going to be bad, but you're going to be reasonable. But honestly, I think what helps them more is a rookie quarterback with potential that they showcase. But that's just my opinion. And would provide a higher floor that the Giants could build upon with improvements at other positions. Coach Daboll is a smart offensive mind who should be able to scheme around the limitations of Wilson's aging skill set. Sort of, I don't know, I'm not really sure, because Wilson is such a limited player right now. He is all about the moon ball, all about the vertical ball. He's very limited in the intermediate game, and his mobility is not the same. So it would be just hard to overcome. Khalil Mack to the Eagles, I mean, yeah, forget about it. I mean, that would be ridiculous for sure. I mean, obviously he has some familiarity with Vic Fangio. They've got probably a pretty good relationship there. Mack can play standing up. He can play hand in line. He is an absolute dog, still an absolutely awesome player, and could replace Josh Sweat. That is very possible. If Khalil Mack is chasing a championship, that'd be a good place to go. The Commanders, Chris Godwin. Now, this happened before the Deebo Samuel thing. I agree with this fit. This is not going to happen anymore, though, but Deebo Samuel was their answer. I think Chris Godwin would have been the better move, but Chris Godwin obviously is a free agent, so he could choose to go back to Tampa. He could choose to go to New England or Pittsburgh or Tennessee or wherever the heck he would want to go, right? This would have been the better fit because Godwin is still very good, a lot better than Deebo, a more nuanced receiver. But in terms of the fit, the yak ability, the toughness, the blocking, the grit, that is what you would look for, the inside player to complement Terry McLaurin. That's why they brought in Deebo. I think Deebo is a worse player, but similar fit. Will Freeze from the Colts goes to the Bears. Okay, so a guard, that makes sense. In 5 games he played before he suffered a season-ending leg injury, he posted career best in pass block win rate and run block win rate. He ranked 37th in pass block win rate and the league average in run block win rate in 2023. So he's an ascending player, pretty young, but could be a guy that could upgrade the Bears' offensive line. Pretty self-explanatory. The Lions signing a defensive tackle, Odighizuwa. Now, this is one that doesn't make sense to me. I've seen the Lions signing defensive tackles fairly often this offseason, and I just don't get it because if I'm not mistaken, DJ Reader is still on the team, right? DJ Reader is on the team. Alim McNeil is still on the team. Levi is a free agent. I get that. But Odighizuwa is a dog. Like you're gonna have to spend some money on Odighizuwa. Like he's a starter. He's a guy. Like he's not a rotation player, in my opinion. He had career highs this past season with 4.5 sacks and 33 pressures. The latter was tied for second among interior linemen. So yeah, he is not gonna be a guy that you can just hand an easy contract to. I think the Lions are better off spending money at edge or spending money at corner, more specifically, and replacing Kevin Zeitler at guard rather than going out for a big D tackle name. But that's just my opinion again. Packers signing Rasul Douglas, bringing him back, that does make some sense. I think he would fit their defense. They need a corner. Douglas was slightly below average in DVOA this past year. He did get worse this year. It felt like he dropped a little bit. But he ranked third in the league in 2023. Interesting. He only had 5 passes defense in 2024, but had 13 in his previous 3 seasons. He's always been known to get his hands on the ball. It's likely Douglas can rebound in 2025 with the Green Bay Packers. Interesting. Okay. Charvarius Ward of the Vikings. This is one that I actually predicted, so I don't really have to talk about it. But yeah, I like his ability to play man, zone, and press specifically. He's very aware of blitzing defenses, having played under Spagnuolo, so there'll be familiarity there with Brian Flores, a lot of 2-high structures as well, and they have Murphy and Gilmore, who are both free agents, so yeah, I like that one. Malcolm Kuntz to the Falcons. They need a pass rush boost. I kind of hope he stays with the Raiders, or he comes to New England. Sure, why not? But the Atlanta Falcons could certainly use a pass rush, and Kuntz is very underrated. He did get hurt last year, but this is the type of guy you want to risk on or roll the dice on, so to speak. He had 5.5 sacks and 17 pressures. That was for Matt Judon this past season. So instead of Hassan Reddick or Khalil Mack, let's suggest Kuntz, the Raiders' 2021 third-round pick, who turns 27. He lost his entire 2024 season to a knee injury, but it had 8 sacks and 29 pressures, 17.5 pass rush win rate, was 22nd in the NFL in 2023. Yeah, so underrated player, can get to the quarterback. Carolina Panthers, Zach Bond. I love that fit as well. I've been talking about that one as a possibility throughout the offseason. I think if he does leave Philadelphia, Dan Morgan, former linebacker of Carolina, former Super Bowl attendee himself, I feel like he'll covet a linebacker for the middle of that defense. So I definitely think if there is a surprise team for Zach Bond, I think New England could be one of them. I think Tennessee could be another one. I think there'll be teams that want Bond. The Broncos, for example, but I feel like the Panthers would be one that I wouldn't be shocked by. Absolutely, I feel like that makes sense. New Orleans Saints, Hassan Reddick. They definitely need some pass rush. They've got a new defensive coordinator there in New Orleans. So it would be interesting to see what they'd be looking for. Reddick held out. Yeah, how good is he anymore? But he's a guy that can pin his ears back, can get to the quarterback. He's probably more of a third down or pass rush sub-package specialist at this point. I don't know if you necessarily want him playing on every down, given his age and his size, but they definitely need some pressure, and I think Reddick could still provide that. Tampa Bay, Josh Sweat. Yes, this makes sense. I think a lot of teams with more cap will want Josh Sweat, though, and I don't think the Bucs will be able to afford him ultimately, but this would make a lot of sense. They need a guy that can get to the quarterback one-on-one off of the edge, and he will always benefit from forces like Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey on the interior, Yaya Diaby on the other side. That would complete a pretty solid defensive line, in my opinion. So yeah, I definitely think that's what they need. He's got the length that I think Todd Bowles is looking for at that position. Arizona Cardinals, Dre Greenlaw. I don't know if I love this one just because I feel like the Cardinals, yes, they like that sideline to sideline. They like that speed. They like that versatility at linebacker. But I feel like they might prefer like a better blitzer and like a better pass rusher. I also don't see Greenlaw going to the Cardinals over the Niners. I don't know if that really matters if he's just picking like one guy for each team and not really talking about what the player would want. But I feel like Greenlaw definitely would upgrade, definitely would be their best linebacker. I just wonder about the scheme fit to a certain degree. Let's see. In DVOA, the Cardinals defense ranked 15th against the pass, 19th against the run, which is actually better than I would have thought. That mediocrity also means the Cardinals could use some help almost anywhere. However, the biggest hole on the defensive depth chart is off-ball linebacker, where Mac Wilson might not necessarily be starting quality, and White is hitting free agency. I think Mac Wilson is a good sub-package player, a good role player. Greenlaw could give the Cardinals someone who is equally strong against the run and the pass, experienced defender who played an important role for San Francisco, blah, 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 Achilles tear. But he should be closer to 100%. Yeah, so it doesn't really say anything about the fit in the defense, which is kind of my concern. Los Angeles Rams, Robert Spillane. This does make some sense. Spillane's limitation is obviously athleticism, like overall quickness and speed, but the Rams don't really care about that at linebacker, seemingly. the last few years, that's not what they care about. Spillane is very high IQ, very good tackler, very good run defender, very good blitzer. There's some things he does well, and he also gets his hands on the ball. So I feel like he would be the type of player they might enjoy. He was involved in 19.2% of the defensive plays, third in the NFL behind Budda Baker and Franklin. He was sixth with 29 defeats, a stat that counts big plays, including turnovers, and also one of the top linebackers in coverage. Interesting, given his limitations. But I feel like, yeah, he would definitely be a good signing for them. Asante Samuel Jr. to the Niners. Now, personally, I think he's a little small for the Niners defense. Typically, I don't like the smaller cornerbacks, but he is very good in zone coverage, very aware, very smart, very instinctual. He is a boom type of free agency signing, a guy that could really develop in his second contract for sure. He had an above-average coverage DVOA in his limited time after a good season in 2022 and a down season in 2023. Samuel excels in zone coverage and has strong ball skills. There you go. Which fits what the Niners defense wants to do on the back end. That is true. That is true. It's just a matter of the size that I think might be the issue. Patrick Ricard to the Seahawks is interesting. Wait a minute, a fullback? Seriously? Well, Ricard might be the best fullback in the game right now. He is chosen as a first-team All-Pro in 2024. Clint Kubiak likes a fullback. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would definitely open up Kenneth Walker for sure. That would be dope for Kenneth Walker. So that's the article, guys. Some interesting ones for sure. Let me know if you guys want me to make my own video predicting a free agent for each team and giving you my thoughts and analysis. I felt like this was okay. I think he did a solid job. I thought he picked some nice names and some nice connections. I think overall he might have just been missing some scheme fits just a little bit, but that's just my opinion. You guys let me know in the comments. Gronk spike the like button, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.